Coal. Coal is a black or dark brown combustible rock made primarily of carbon. It was formed millions of years ago when ferns, plants, and trees died and fell into swamps. The swamp conditions prevented the organisms from decaying completely, and after millions of years of intense heat and pressure, coal was formed.
It's hard to believe that nearly 40% of our country's electricity still comes from coal, a dirty, outdated energy source. Coal not only causes health problems, but it's also the main contributor to climate disruption. Just how bad is coal? In mountaintop removal mining, coal companies clear-cut forests and literally blow the tops off mountains to get the coal. This process dumps millions of tons of waste into our streams and poisons our drinking water. But mining coal is only the beginning. Burning coal generates smog, which can cause asthma attacks, chest pains, and breathing problems. In fact, 1 out of 10 children in the U.S. suffers from asthma.
Coal is a public health issue because it creates so much pollution.
It is a series of environmental problems and health problems at every stage in the process.
The pollution from burning coal leads to 12,000 emergency room visits and more than $100 billion in health costs every year. Coal pollution also contains toxic mercury that damages the nervous system and is especially dangerous for babies and young children because it can cause developmental problems.
They also store the mining waste in these huge earthen dams, and they're holding back billions of gallons of toxic sludge that's leaking into the drinking water.
Everybody's wells pretty much is contaminated in one form or another. So I don't use the water to cook. I use it to do the dishes, but that's about it because you can wipe the water off.
Of all the renewable energy sources we have to choose from, solar power has by far the most potential to supply all of our energy needs for the foreseeable future. That's because it's practically infinite. It comes from, the sun, the giant fireball in the sky. And even though we've had the ability to harvest the power of the sun for over a century now, it hasn't become efficient and cheap enough to compete with the fossil fuel industry until very recently. Now we're in the midst of a solar power revolution that promises to change the world the same way that computers have. Good Stuff producer Matt Weber tells the story of how solar power went from a pipe dream to the greatest power source ever. Probably.
The Earth intercepts a lot of solar power, 173,000 terawatts. That's 10,000 times more power than the planet's population uses. So is it possible that one day the world could be completely reliant on solar energy? To answer that question, we first need to examine how solar panels convert solar energy.
Or to buy a hybrid car, this disaster has grown beyond the choices that individuals make. This is now about our industries and our governments around the world taking decisive, large-scale action. Now must be our moment for action. We need to put a price tag on carbon emissions and eliminate government subsidies for oil, coal, and gas companies. We need to end the free ride that industrial polluters have been given in the name of a free market economy. They do not deserve our tax dollars. They deserve our scrutiny, for the economy itself will die if our ecosystems collapse. The good news is that renewable energy is not only achievable, but good economic policy. This is not a partisan debate, it is a human one. Clean air and a livable climate are inalienable human rights. And solving this crisis is not a question of politics, it is a question of our own survival. This is the most urgent of times and the most urgent of messages. Honored delegates, leaders of the world, I pretend for a living, but you do not.